How many of you ever dropped a cell phone? The screen cracks, now suddenly you can't check your Instagram or respond to your Snapchat streaks, so you panic. If you have an iPhone with Apple Care, no worries. All you have to do is bring your iPhone to the Apple Store and they'll replace it free of charge with a brand new shiny iPhone if everything is in order. Now what happens to your old broken phone when they exchange it in the warranty? It gets thrown out, or if it's in good enough condition, the metals will be recycled. Some of you might remember, back in the day, people would take their broken household items and get them fixed at the local repair shop. A few weeks ago, my family's Pizzelle iron, used for making fancy Italian cookies, started acting weird and wasn't working properly. The specific appliance hasn't been made since the 50s, but my grandma thought it was best to take it to the local repair shop and to get it checked out. She asked us to bring it for her, but none of us knew where one was. It was at that exact moment that she realized that repair shops no longer existed and we're going to need to fix the Pizzelle iron ourselves. This might be a bold statement, but I genuinely believe that fixing things is no longer something that we as a culture believe in. Warranties have become extremely popular, but rarely does the company actually fix the broken item. They simply replace it. Have we come to respect the things we own so little that we don't even try to take care of them? We live in a disposable society. When our cell phone breaks, we throw it out and get another. Sometimes we throw it out just because we want another. This same mentality applies to relationships. It's not working? Get a divorce. To no one's surprise, the divorce rates have been rising steadily since the 1970s. According to historical divorce rate statistics, from 1867 to the year 1900, the divorce rate was 3% to 7%. From 1901 to 1930, the rates were 8% to 16%. From 1931 to 1967, the rates made a slow increase from 16% and 26%. According to a 2011 report by the United States Census Bureau, divorce rates rose progressively during the 60s, 70s, and 80s. In 1970, the divorce rate was 33%. 5 years later, in 1975, it was at 48%. In 1980, another 5 years later, the divorce rate was at 52%. 5 years later, it went back down to 50%. The rate of 50% has held fairly stable for the last 40 years. So why have divorces increased so significantly over time? Why do half of marriages end in divorce? According to the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, prior to 1970, divorce was fairly uncommon and difficult to get. Fault was usually required. One of the spouses must have committed a crime or sin that justified the divorce. There needed to be adultery, abandonment, cruelty, intoxication, or some other reason that made it necessary to end the marriage. While the concept of no-fault divorce started in the 1950s, it was almost universal by the 1970s. What are some of the reasons that attitudes towards divorce are changing? Some of the more global reasons are that we often have two-income households. The quote-unquote traditional family, where the mother stayed home and took care of the home and the children, is not as common anymore. Many women stayed in marriages because they simply believed that they could not have supported themselves otherwise. Society's attitude towards divorce and even infidelity have changed tremendously over the last 40 years. We have the real, but sometimes misunderstood statistics that show that individuals are more likely to divorce if they lived together before marriage, if they are on their second marriage, and if they come from a family where their parents are divorced. While many of us would think that living together and getting to know each other would decrease our risk of divorce, that rate holds true. We might also think that children of divorce might try to avoid the same fate, but this statistic holds true as well. Probably one of the reasons that is seen in therapy is the ease with which a couple decides to divorce. It seems that years ago, the reason had to be long-term and profound to divorce. That couples tried to work things out no matter what, or at least gave it all they had. More often I see marriages that are very short-lived, that the marriage is threatened and used as a tool when the couple fights, and that they decide to divorce over what many would view as minor issues. While therapy has become more accepted, so has divorce. Newlyweds will already be in therapy and already be talking about divorce. If there are significant issues with the relationship, work on them before you make what should be a serious commitment. These are the cases where people get so excited about the wedding, but do not consider the life that they will have after this one day is over. Consider what your lifetime together will look like. Contemplate what issues you need to work on. Be willing to do whatever you can to try and salvage this relationship with the person you fell in love with. You love them for a reason. You agreed to marry them for a reason, and you committed to them for a reason. Make a point of remembering what those reasons are, and that they are worth working for. Do not take your commitment lightly. Do not take the person you love for granted. If there are options and possibilities to repair things between the two of you, explore them. Be one of the success stories where people actually saved a failing marriage because they were not strong enough to give it all they had. Do not treat marriage like it's a broken toaster, a cracked iPhone, or something disposable. Do not be a negative statistic.